Hello and welcome to a new part of my story, Eureka, A Guide to the Mysticism. And if you like this story, you can leave a like and a comment down below. I hope you really liked it. And then let's start with the story and let's go.
What the hell was that just now? Myra asks herself as the silver sparkles fade. It's not quite what she expected, but destroying a spirit turned out to be surprisingly simple. The problem hits her immediately when she thinks it through. Ghosts can pass through walls and she cannot. That means she cannot instantly destroy a spirit that hides behind a physical barrier. I can't let this be. My power to kill or destroy spirits might be useful, however I did it, but if I can't touch them nothing happens, so what am I supposed to do? Myra wonders as footsteps draw closer and a voice pulls her from her thoughts. Are you all right, Myra? Theodore asks, concerned. Yes, I'm fine. Thanks for asking, I was just lost in thought. I have a lot to think about, but everything's okay, Myra says in that upbeat tone that gives Theodore the sense she's hiding something. This is not the moment to pry, and even if she has changed a little, he waits. When she emerges he's struck speechless. She looks unexpectedly beautiful and elegant. The black trousers, the jacket and the shirt suit her, and the black hat she tips on her head lends the whole outfit a touch of grace. But that's not all. Her white hair is braided into a plait that falls down her back. She looks more composed and self-assured than before. Why this style of dress? Theodore asks as he pays and carries the bags out of the shop with Myra. Nothing special. I'm just not keen on pretending all the time. Maybe the near-death experience changed me, but I realized I don't live for others or for their opinions. I live for myself, and dresses aren't what I want. They're awkward. So I don't care what that means. If I wear what I want, I'll find myself, Myra answers without hesitation as they walk toward the Lunatica Cathedral. The Royal Academy is nearby. I didn't expect this, Theodore mutters, his gaze landing on the white and silver Lunatica Cathedral. It truly is breathtaking, a sight Theodore never quite grew used to in all his years in Averin. When he looks at Myra he sees she's excited, too. Shall we visit the church? It's not so full. It's only midday, Theodore suggests. No, I'd rather eat. I'm hungry, Myra says, her eyes falling on a cafe. Okay, why not? But why don't you want to go to the church? It's beautiful, Theodore asks. I don't know what I should feel about the church. What if someone becomes a Beander unintentionally and they can detect, with Helios spirituality or whatever, whether someone is a Beander? It would be counterproductive to be seen as a member of some sect and then be arrested, Myra says, watching people around them who step aside without paying them much attention. You might be right, but why do you think someone could become a Beander without noticing? How would you accidentally become one? Theodore asks, curious. Through accident, maybe. Never mind. What is that effect you're making where people look away and ignore us? Myra asks. That's delirium at work. It allows someone who follows the delirium path, or who carries an artifact saturated with delirium, to create illusions and enter dreamlike states, mainly deception. It's another application of that spirituality. It draws attention away from us. The rest would be toxic to explain, and you shouldn't take more of that in right now. Do you feel different? Theodore asks, worried. No, I don't feel different from the cognitive toxin in those words, but I should be careful. It could have a creeping effect I don't notice. On the other hand, what if I have increased resistance to cognitive toxins? I can't rule that out. I have no comparison, so I should be cautious with mystic information. One thing I want to confirm, though, Myra thinks as she looks toward her big brother. Okay, I can accept not talking more about the mystic world for now, but we can definitely eat over there. That cafe looks good. Also, now that you know a bit more, tell me where you work, Myra says, giving him the best puppy eyes she can manage. All right, you don't have to pull that face, I told you already, stop with those eyes, Theodore replies with mixed feelings. If his sister's cuteness had any mystical effect or spiritual signature, he could accept it. But when he checks, again, out of habit, he finds nothing changed, it's simply his sister's charm. I work for the Department of Esoteric Affairs. If you ever need help with a mystic incident, go to the largest rider tower in the city in the northern quadrant. That's where I work, Theodore says as they choose a table and wait for a waitress. Ah, so that's where you work. Finally you tell me. I thought maybe you were part of some secret sect or something evil. I thought you might be stealing corpses from graveyards for ritual stuff, Myra teases. You're an absurd scatterbrain as always. Why would I do that? Theodore replies. That was just a joke. I didn't actually think you'd be performing evil rituals or anything. I just thought you might have jobs you don't tell us about. But I guess I can discard that suspicion now, that you're doing something shady. Well, you've told us you're a detective, but I never really believed you at home. Your stories always sounded interesting, though. I think you just left the supernatural stuff out of your tales. I can understand that to some degree, the mystic world seems risky, even from what I know now. How do you even get information in general if toxic knowledge is a problem? You can't just pass on the contents of rituals and the like in the mystic world, even if the various sects wanted to. How do the different sects handle cognitive poison? Myra asks, curious. I thought we dropped this topic, Theodore replies, raising an eyebrow as his attention drifts for a moment to something in the distance. A few seconds later he nods and his gaze returns to his surprised, slightly puzzled sister, as if he had been thinking something through in silence. I see you're curious about what I was doing. I redirected that mystical effect that pulls attention away from us a little. Now the effect diverts attention from our words, but not from our presence. If I speak something directly to you now, the effect won't apply to that. Only words spoken to or by us seem unimportant to everyone else. And don't worry, if anyone more powerful than me detected this weak delirium usage, I would notice. I can tell when someone stronger is nearby. It's unlikely anyone can eavesdrop on us. Then, Theodore explains, making sure Myra understands he hasn't forgotten her question. Quote. I can't help it. It's just interesting. My mind keeps asking questions about the mystery system and how it actually works, Myra admits honestly. Okay, I get that it's interesting, but it's dangerous to be curious about the wrong things in the mystic world. I want to pass all my knowledge to you, but what you do with it is on you. As your older brother, I can't help worrying. Please be careful. It's really important you stay cautious, Theodore says as a waitress approaches. It's no surprise the waitress arrives quickly. The cafe is quiet right now. And since their presence is no longer being ignored, it was only a matter of time before someone noticed them. The ability to shift attention away from something is clearly useful and enviable. How exactly does the clarity and deception concept work? I mean, if a Helios Beander with heightened perception tries to see through delirium, does it cost more energy to maintain the illusion, or does the delirium user just notice that someone is breaking the illusion? How does that work? Myra asks, impressed that no one seems to register their conversation despite the relative quiet. I wonder how the illusion-making ability works too, Myra thinks aloud. We obviously make sound. Our words aren't being muted, but nobody remembers them. That means the trick is not to hide the sounds themselves but to prevent the minds that hear them from retaining them, like a dream that fades from memory after a few seconds. Cognitive poison only has an effect if information stays in the mind long enough. If it's immediately forgotten, it can't take hold. That fits with what I understand about cognitive poison. Myra is fascinated and impressed by delirium. I'll have a coffee and that's it. My sister can order whatever she wants. I'll pay, Theodore says. I'll have a slice of strawberry cake and a cup of linden blossom tea, Myra replies, not very hungry. The waitress takes the order and is back soon with the cake, the tea, and the coffee before excusing herself. Basically, cognitive poison is the main reason information spreads so slowly. Now you know why the legends and stories the old man had us read were so cautiously handed out. They contained cognitive poison. You can see how slowly mystical knowledge needs to be read and shared. The strength of the cognitive poison determines how long it takes to absorb the information safely and to pass it on without harm, Theodore says honestly, mixed emotions on his face as he watches his sister's interest. I figured as much. If there's cognitive poison, there must be an opposite, some way to protect or heal against it, Myra says, a sparkle in her eyes Theodore can't quite place. It's a mix of curiosity, fascination, and intelligence, an intriguing glow. Yes. There is a spirituality that works against cognitive poison, with precise methods. So indirectly, there are cures and protections. It's not simple, Everything in the mystic world costs more, or people find their own methods or resources to solve these problems. If you need protection against cognitive poison, turn to the balanced spirituality. But that's enough about this for now, Theodore says, giving her a look meant to discourage more questions. He tries to be serious, but Myra can't help laughing. Theodore simply never looks truly frightening or grim. Fine. Not talking about it. But I have other questions, about this city. Maybe that will help my memories clear up, Myra says, standing as she watches Theodore pay. What do you want to ask? Why so direct all of a sudden? You didn't seem inclined to talk about your memory loss or the incident before, Theodore asks in a neutral but interested tone. Just, brother dear, I heard you talking to that woman in the shop earlier. And yes, I've lost some memories. I can still faintly remember the old man, our grandfather. I remember you and our parents, but my memories aren't sharp. I don't know how long it will take for them to get clearer, or if I'll ever be the same person I was. That makes me uneasy. I felt ashamed. I thought if I acted like everything was normal, you'd maybe not notice and I'd have more time to find myself. But you noticed anyway. So tell me, does it even make sense to keep not talking about it? I remember vague things. For example, I can't remember the first day you rode an insect. I know it was on a birthday, but not which one. I can't recall when your birthday is or mine. I don't remember exactly why you left home. I have a vague sense of a conflict and that I sided with you. These are just blurry memories from before the accident, Myra says, anxious and unsettled. What goes unsaid weighs on Myra's heart. It would be absurd, even in this world, drawing the attention of gods, dragging her into conflicts with other Beander organizations and sects. Don't worry so much. Memories will come back in time. Even if they don't, the past is past. If you want to know specifics about your past, ask me. My first ride on a bee was when I was 10. You were much smaller then. It was spectacular. I would have loved to take you with me, but our parents forbade it. I probably would have hurt you. I hurt myself badly in that crash. I fell off the bee, remember? Theodore says with a smile, throwing his arm around his small, sweet sister. I remember now, you crashed into the flower so stupidly. Lucky the flower broke your fall, otherwise more than your right leg would have been broken, Myra says, momentarily forgetting what world they're in, full of mysticism, sects, and unseen dangers. See, the memories come back. They just need time, Theodore says as they continue toward the Lunatica Cathedral. It's a blessing that the Lunatica Church focuses mostly on delirium and somewhat less on Helios. If they constantly traced spiritual signatures of other paths, walking near the cathedral would be maddening. The cathedral's size and influence across countries make the church an organization that most Beander sects wouldn't want to provoke lightly. Any major conflict there would be catastrophic for surrounding lands, Myra can imagine given the church's continental reach. Their conversation flows naturally from topic to topic.
Before the sun sets, everything with the Royal Academy of Averan enrollment is settled. When evening comes, Myra finds herself in a new hotel, a much cheaper one than the Sunfire Hotel. It's only temporary until the new school year starts and until a house near the Valerne Royal Academy frees up, since that would significantly cut the travel time to the academy each morning. Now lying on her bed, sleep stubbornly refuses to come. The countless thoughts about the mystic world and her brother simply won't let her rest. It's not as if anything dramatic happened that day besides the mysticism conversation with her brother. What should I do now? I can't just go on doing nothing. I could put myself in danger. I can't leave the mystery of those spirits alone. There's something in this city that's not normal. What will I do about those spirits, or about that sect once I know what they're doing? Will I stop them, destroy them, rob them? Myra wonders, staring at the window. Clearly there's more going on than meets the eye. No spirit would coordinate so systematically with other spirits just to scout something, unless people were involved. The question is how to get more information. It won't be as simple as walking up and taking a look, especially if they have guards. So what should I do? That's it. I could try to become a Beander. But which spirituality should I choose? It's not easy to decide. Right now I think my only real option is to become a Veil Path Beander. But I can't just destroy and swallow spirits if people cultivate and try to control them, especially where they're active. So I can't simply steal the cemetery's spirituality and similar sources. There's another place where a lot of people die or bodies get destroyed. Actually, there are two places if I think about it. The industrial quarter with its factories where accidents happen, and the morgue or crematorium where corpses are processed. There I might find enough spirits to accumulate spirituality. But is there even a direct limit to how much spirituality I can gather in my body? And how much do I need for the beginner ceremony? There's a ritual, I think, that makes you a Beander. Okay, I'll check again. My brother mentioned something about it in passing. I absolutely can't risk experimenting blindly. Myra thinks as she pulls the book out that was given to her. Where was it again? She wonders. As her eyes skim the pages once more, gathering the key points quickly, she sees, the ritual to become an initial Beander is basically the same for most paths. A few individual paths have special requirements, but the beginner rituals all follow the same structure. You need a ritual matrix and a supervising Beander so nothing goes wrong. Either someone of higher rank or an important spiritual object is required, an object that holds the same spirituality you want to choose as your primary path. It seems especially important that the object bears a pure spirituality of a single path, not a mixture. So I can't use my book as an anchor for a beginner's ritual to become a Veil Beander, Myra thinks, slightly frustrated that becoming a Beander is harder than she imagined. But it isn't the only way to get more information and become a Beander. The second option just takes more time and is difficult. There are only a few places that have the necessary contact with death to create spirits, and spirits themselves aren't that common. That's the plan then. I need to understand my power better. What's the best move now? I could go out tonight, but that's risky for a little girl like me. I'm 15, but still years away from adulthood and I can't run well. I'm too slight in muscle to hunt spirits in this body, especially at night when sects could be active. If people commit crimes at night, running would be disastrous. I don't even have a bee to ride. If I had a riding insect I could fly much faster across the city, but I'd also have to be careful not to draw attention. Sects can use insects too. Okay, I'll postpone the plan until tomorrow. If people die tonight, it won't matter whether I absorb spirituality tonight or tomorrow. But how do I develop my own technique to gather spirituality? When I destroyed the spirit while changing earlier, I pretended to reach for other things. Still, when I crushed and absorbed it, some spirituality leaked away. Maybe I should do it like a vacuum and try to suck spirituality in, but I don't know if my ability works on spirituality. Maybe it follows my will. After all, the spirit then has no vessel because it's dead or destroyed. Myra thinks as she closes the book and puts it on the bedside table. If it weren't for the fact that the book's spirituality is hard to detect even for her brother, who primarily uses Helios, and that not everyone runs around with a mystical artifact inspecting every object, it would be reckless to leave such an artifact on the nightstand. But besides all those precautions and the unlikelihood of someone breaking into her hotel room, the book's knowledge is itself a kind of defense. I could make the book far more dangerous by integrating important physics and mechanical knowledge from Mark Tesla's life, that is crucial information from another world. From what I know, it would be highly toxic. Even though my memories of his life are fuzzy, the technical knowledge itself seems sharp. Yes, tomorrow morning I will definitely write as much important knowledge as I can into it in English. That language doesn't exist in this reality, so it will be hard to identify. The toxic knowledge would probably still work, I think. And if not, that's fine, people will have to decipher it first, and then it will be toxic. Or I could translate it. Myra thinks as sleep finally wraps over her like a warm blanket. Birdsong and the hum of insects come through. Someone riding a sparrow flashes by the window. The only thought that crosses Myra's sleepy mind at the sight of the birds is how pointlessly impractical it is to tame birds. Arrogant nobles. What a waste of money and resources to tame birds like that, Myra thinks as she gets up and prepares for the day. She still has time before the university year really begins. I have exactly 2 weeks left to set my path as a Veil Beander. Today it's time to hunt and swallow some spirits. I could call it a spirit hunter accumulation strategy or something. I strongly suspect nobody else has thought of eating spirits, or I haven't heard of it yet. For now, that's my accumulation strategy. But the remaining question is how to do it without getting noticed, and especially how to estimate how much spirituality a spirit will give me. I can't just roughly guess all the time, that's problematic. Unfortunately, there's no clear unit of spirituality. If there were, it would be far easier to say how much you need to become a Beander and how many units you need for the next rank. I also need to find out what the ritual matrix for Vale's beginner ritual looks like. Myra thinks as it becomes clear how much effort becoming a Beander will take, particularly if spirits don't pass on memories and are used only as sources of spirituality. She decides it won't hurt to check again. The beginner ritual matrices for Dominion, Balance, Helios and Delirium all have one thing in common. The path symbol sits at the center of the ritual matrix, and the matrix itself isn't overly complex aside from a few standard symbols that repeat across the 4 paths, albeit in slightly different order. So it's not far-fetched for Myra to imagine that for Vale she could take a standard ritual matrix and replace the center symbol with Vale's symbol. Vale's emblem would be a dramatic shroud, a white cloth draped over a skull, with the image of a keyhole on it. Damn, this will be hard, becoming a Beander. I should be careful before I take the risk. Ideally, I could steal someone else's ritual matrix. I need to be able to find that out discreetly. First, I have to gather more information and collect spirituality. If I can get memories or information from the dead, I have a safe source that can't be traced. But I should start with people who died recently and who had nothing to do with mysticism. It would be really problematic if I accidentally absorbed the spirit of a high-ranking expert in another spirituality. Unlikely, but it would be a mess if I were then hunted because people think I'd killed someone. Anyway, I must be careful. Checking the slums for recent deaths is a good start, or the morgue. How would I explain going there if my brother finds out? Screw it. I'll disguise myself and go, using side streets so no one follows. That could be problematic. Maybe I'm just paranoid. But when I consider the mystic world, you can never be too paranoid. Myra thinks. Chapter. Ghost hunting. It is a relatively warm spring day. The sun hangs pleasantly over Averin as Myra enters the city's poor quarter. When her gaze falls on the impoverished people and beggars, she can't help feeling a slight compassion for them, almost like a tiny, prickling flame that stirs in her chest. It isn't painful, more like an echo of pain. Myra allows herself a second to reflect, and for a moment she thinks she could ignore that feeling of pity for the poor. It seems sad to her how the working class people live, but in the end that is not the reason she came to the slums. That's really a shame, how they live, the people in this neighborhood. But well, I'm not here for that. Let's see if I can find what I'm looking for, Myra thinks as her eyes begin to glow with a greenish turquoise light. As that mysterious turquoise light washes over the slums through the carriage window, she can feel every spirit and soul in her sight. The souls of the living appear to have a different shape, color and texture than the souls of the dead, as if each soul is fundamentally individual. Even though it's hard to see anything in this flood of souls, one thing becomes clear: every soul has its own texture but is still a focused point of light anchored to a place. None of the souls are gaseous or spread throughout a person's body. Okay, this is beautiful, but it's not what I'm looking for. I need someone who died recently, Myra thinks as her perception shifts again until only the souls of the dead remain visible. Time crawls as the carriage moves slowly through the neighborhood, until suddenly something makes Myra flinch. It's an unexpectedly perfect situation, exactly what she had hoped for. Please stop here. I want to look at something, Myra tells the coachman. The carriage slows and comes to a halt. When the smell of the slums, dirt and rot, spills in as Myra opens the door, she can't help wrinkling her nose. Please be careful, young lady. The slums are very dangerous and some criminals hang around here, the woman on the driver's box warns. I'll keep that in mind. Wait here a moment. I want to give that poor fellow over there a little money. He earned it, Myra replies, fully aware the drunken beggar will probably squander it. At the very least he reeks of alcohol, perhaps he drank himself to death. Here, take it. You deserve it more than I do, Myra says with a friendly smile as she drops a few coins into the beggar's hat. But the smile is only a facade. Her gaze has already fallen on what shouldn't be seen. The spirit has a silvery outline and appears to have died recently. He looks tall and surprisingly bulky. Inside his transparent chest a silver light pulses like a heartbeat. His dead eyes still look sleepy or dazed, as if his drunken stupor didn't end with death. When Myra stares into the void a fraction of a second too long, to everyone else she's just a wealthy kid having a good day and zoning out. But in the realm of the dead and the unseen, the recently dead spirit's eyes suddenly widen as something happens that cannot, by any normal measure, be natural. Unseen forces begin to exert a pull. What is this? What's happening to me? Am I dead? The spirit asks as the invisible force draws at him. It is not the afterlife or anything ordinary, it is the hand of a slight girl doing the pulling. The beggar, her unintentional test subject, is as surprised as Myra when she realizes the plan worked. Oh, look at that, if I compress a spirit slowly and carefully, I can actually do it. Mostly it seems to be because spirits don't occupy physical space, so size is a matter of perspective, Myra murmurs. What's happening here? Who are you? What are you doing? The formerly drunken spirit asks, but Myra gives no answer. She climbs back into the carriage and inspects her small trophy. I wonder if I'm doing something evil or something useful, she thinks. I'm crushing a spirit, using the soul of a dead person for my own purposes. On the other hand, it isn't that evil, the spirit's already dead and I had nothing to do with the death. In that sense I'm just using local resources. Still, many people would see this as immoral. But it's resourceful. And it's not like I can fully destroy the core of a soul, that spark of something else seems beyond my influence. On closer inspection of the soul in her hand, Myra notices something immutable, a tiny spark, something that cannot be changed. It reminds her inevitably of the infinitesimally small singularity of a black hole, but metaphysical, an infinitely small singularity. A quick look around confirms that every living being, every soul nearby, has precisely that spark, a singularity so infinitesimally small it's almost imperceptible. Okay, that's strange. Every person, every soul has a little spark. And nothing happens when I concentrate my power on that spark. I can sense it, but that's all. I have no idea what the spark is, why it's there, or how I would affect it, or whether it even makes sense to try. Next step. Gather more spirits and study my own soul, Myra thinks as the carriage bumps further through the slum streets.
That's it for today. If you want to see the next video, you can click on the right side of the screen. On the left side of the screen you can also see now the newest video I uploaded. And that's it for today. I hope you really liked that story. If you liked my story, you can leave a like and comment down below. This was part 5 of the story, Eureka, a guide to the mysticism. And I hope we see us in the next part again. Until next time, take care and goodbye.